most times they're not in direct competition with one another. They're in competition with themselves, right? As you were talking about your discipline, you're in competition to get your name, your company, your business, because in reality, you are your own business out there. Because our focus is on the realtors to make sure that they get the tools and resources they need, because that allows them to then focus on their clients. We have a unique situation here in Arizona. We have one of the highest increases in job opportunities here in the Valley. You asked me what one of my things that I really feel is the most important part of being a managing broker. It's listening. It's listening to my agents to understand what their needs are.
A lot of people came into the business because they thought it was good money, right? But they never experienced any kind of other market where you actually have to do the work.
I'm Melissa Schwartz. I'm the managing broker of the Realty One Group office here in Paradise Valley.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the I Am Voice podcast. And we keep getting better and better and better every week. More followers, more downloads. Thank you very much to everyone that's been sharing our content and to the amazing entrepreneurs throughout the city that now they could become national, because 22,000 downloads. I was looking at the sections where they're getting download.
Wow.
And it's all over the country and even some internationally. So I'm glad that you're liking the content, because this gets juicier and realist every single episode. And today is no short of good content, because I have quite a personality, a mentor for me, and somebody that has been taking care of us for a very long time, pulling our ears and everything that we do wrong. And I'm gonna let her introduce herself, who she is and what she does.
Thank you, Vaz. I'm Melissa Schwartz. I'm the managing broker of the Realty One Group office here in Paradise Valley. We are so glad to have you and your team back here in our office. We're so excited you're back here. You bring such an energy and vitality to what you do each and every day, and it's contagious. I see my agents pick up when you walk in the room, and you always have something to share. So we're thrilled to have you back here.
And it's a pleasure for me. Ever since I had the blessing to be here in Realty One Paradise Valley in this specific office, I've been learning a lot. I've been progressing so much in the business, and I've been working with great people with great energy, and that's something that I appreciate. The reason how we even landed here, we were in a different brokerage, right? And Mandy, which is now, she's the
a deputy commissioner for the Arizona Department of Real Estate. So, yes.
Mr. Lance, which we just had on the previous episode, we just had him on a podcast on the previous episode. He was our mentor at the time, and he said, guys, you need some structure, you need some discipline. Hector and you're like two kids with ADD. And he hooked us up with Mandy, and right after that, we just took off. We came, we loved the office. We're your neighbors on the office.
That's right.
So I appreciate that. Then short after, maybe about 3 months in, that's when you took over as managing broker.
Yeah, about 2.5 years ago, I took over as the managing broker, and you were already here. We partnered on multiple educational programs.
Yes.
We did some evening training programs together, and I look forward to getting those back up and running now that you're back here in our offices. And yeah, it was pretty interesting to have you here, because you have such an, as I said, an energetic training style, and you really like to make sure that the agents on your team understand more than just, checking boxes. You want them to understand the whole process, and you really get them involved and out into the community to talk to the people out there. I love what you do with open houses and how you go out and greet people. You don't just walk out and throw a sign up and open the door and say, hey, we've got an open house going on. So.
No, and nowadays you can't do that, right?
No.
You can't do that because there's a lot of competition, especially with a lot of this internet companies such as Zillow and everybody else that's just going out and has a lot of money to do their marketing and flood social media. We got to get creative. We got to get relational. We got to go knock some doors and say,
right,
hi, don't shoot me. I'm having an open house for your neighbor. So don't release your dogs. But that came from a lot of guidance from you guys, from this training, right? These trainings that you guys are offering here at Realty One Group, they're absolutely exceptional. But how do you feel now that you're being managing broker for almost like 2 years now?
2.5 years. I love being the managing broker here. Now, interesting fact, I actually joined Realty One Group 17 years ago. So I joined in 2008. It was a tiny, tiny little company. There were only 200 agents here in all of Arizona. Actually, we're celebrating our 20th year this year. It started in 2005 in Nevada and came over to Arizona in 2007. And I joined them in 2008 as an active agent, right? Not as a managing broker. And so I love being the managing broker here. This office is a very diverse office. We have two of the top producers in Paradise Valley actually in this office. Combined, the two of them did $400 million last year. I don't think the rest of my office did $400 million. It's possible, but maybe. But for the most part, the rest of our agents are doing, what they do each and every day. And of course, we have top producers as well, as your team was when you were here. But it's a very diverse office. We have a lot of Spanish-speaking agents here. We have people that cover everything from Central Phoenix to the Santan Valley to Anthem, all the way up to Goodyear, even though our office is here literally in North Phoenix, Scottsdale area. We're right off of Tatum and Shea, which is why we're called the Paradise Valley office, because we're right here at the edge of Paradise Valley and near what used to be known as the Paradise Valley Mall. And it's been totally remodeled, and it's very exciting to see all these new restaurants. So it's fun working with these agents. I have a lot of fun working with new agents. We have a great mentorship program, which I personally work with my agents on those. And I get down to the nitty gritty in terms of contracts and how to process things, how to make sure you understand the whole file, not just the one document, but all the documents, right? If you've been in real estate for a little while, if you're brand new, in 2024, we had 18 forms change. And I've been an agent for 28 years, so that's the largest number of forms I've ever seen change at one time. Usually it's about 2 forms, maybe 3, but we had 18 change last August. And, our agents have just gotten really into understanding those changes. And I'm thrilled to see how quickly our agents are understanding those modifications and are learning to make sure they're representing their clients to the best of their ability, both buyers and sellers, to understand those things. I think the technology today, there's a lot we can do as agents to be able to reach out to our clients. But in terms of those other companies like that, I'm not worried about it because of something you said earlier. This is a relationship business. Okay?
Absolutely.
So you can do all you want online through all this technology company, but if you're not actually connecting with those clients one-on-one and understanding what their needs are, and likewise as a managing broker, you asked me what one of my things that I really feel is the most important part of being a managing broker, it's listening. It's listening to my agents to understand what their needs are and being able to help them resolve those concerns or needs or educational things that they need. That's the same thing you're doing as an agent with your clients.
Absolutely.
What are their needs? What are they looking for, either to buy or to sell, right? They're trying to sell. Did they have some profit in there, or are they really tight? Is it a potential short sale? And yes, we are back in short sale market here in the Arizona market. We do know that. But again, that listening, it's about that relationship, listening to see what they need.
Absolutely. And to all the businesses out there, these are the same concepts and problems that are across all of our industries, especially if you're selling any kind of service, if you're in construction, if you are in roofing, if you're any of this. So to all of our entrepreneurs, pay very close attention, especially if you depend on sales and on your sales department and they're 1099 and they're commission driven. This is some of the challenges that we're facing because it's very similar to real estate. One of the questions I have, Melissa, I know there's been a lot of controversy in the real estate realm because of changes and everything like that. But my focus is on what you have experienced on the agents, right? What has been their biggest challenges adapting to this economy and to these changes?
Well, I think the economy here for the last couple of years has been difficult because of uncertainty, right?
Yes, correct.
So it's not it. We have a unique situation here in Arizona. We have one of the highest increases in job opportunities here in the Valley over really the last 24 months. I mean, with the TSMC being built up, not just one time, but they doubled it, right? So they built a whole new building. And that brought a lot of new jobs, and not just for that particular company, that created literally a whole city around that. The uncertainty of government work, so there were some additional jobs expected in the industry, and then because of company regulations, because of government regulations closed down some of those things. Some of those businesses then shut down and closed down where they were expected to expand.
Absolutely.
So some of that uncertainty has been challenging for realtors, especially because people were not going out and buying because they were uncertain whether they would have a job, right? We knew companies were coming in and hiring people and bringing people in with them. Those were certainties. We knew those people needed housing. But for everybody else that was here, there was that question, can I buy? Do I need to wait? What if I lose my 3.5% interest rate? How much more is it going to cost me to go into something at 6.5% or 7% or 7.5%, right? So that the last few years, that's what we've been dealing with. And I think we've seen an increase in listings and a decrease in buyers actually going into the market.
Absolutely.
We have one of the highest numbers of amount of inventory than we've had since 2014. As you know, I go over this every month on our monthly meetings.
Yes.
But the reality is we've still had buyers in the market. The number of buyers has not increased as we'd like, but they're still in the market and they are still buying. So agents still have the opportunity to do transactions. It just is a smaller pool in essence from what you feel because we've got so many listings out there.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this was my experience. We got spoiled. We got spoiled between 2021, 2022,
correct,
maybe midway to 2023. If you were in real estate, everybody was in the Bahamas and Vegas and popping bottles.
Sure.
And now, you know, all the people that I used to follow on real estate, I don't see those kind of posts anymore.
Sure.
But you know, a lot of people came into the business because they thought it was good money, right? But they never experienced any kind of other market where you actually have to do the work,
correct,
where you gotta have the discipline, where the deals are not falling in your lap. So one of my questions is, how are you helping these agents as a leader? What techniques are you doing? Because I'm pretty sure some of us never experienced
correct,
what it was like to be a real realtor.
So I did have several agents come up to me and say, what do I do? My home's still on the market. We've been on the market now 3 weeks. Like, I'm laughing, right? Because look, I've been doing this 28 years. I was in it in, 08, 09, 10, 11, 12, where the market was, on a free fall, right? And we used to go in with marketing plans for 6 months because things sat on the market for 6 months.
Correct.
Hate to tell you, we still aren't at 6 months. So we are still at about 3.5 months right now. So we're not yet to that 6 month slowdown. And I'm honestly not sure we'll get there. Now, it all depends on what happens. Of course, today, the day we're recording this, our government has shut down today. That will have an impact, but we won't see that impact. That will be a trickle impact because people will just start to panic. It'll depend on how long this lasts, right? Mm-hmm. So hopefully the government will get back up and running and we won't see a big impact from that. But in terms of what am I working with my agents on, I'm working with them on marketing plans, right? You need to have more of a marketing plan than just one day or a week, right? Or 2 weeks, right? You need to have a plan for how you're going to continue to get that property marketed and out there, using the social media links you have, using all the different tools and resources, but also going into the neighborhood, walking that neighborhood, talking to the neighbors who knows what neighbor might be looking for a family member or a friend to come and move in. It's amazing how often that happens.
One of the strategies that we do in open houses, we do about 100 letters that a week before the open house, we literally write the address for every single envelope, and we put a stamp and we send it to every single address around. And then the day of the open house, we show up an hour or two early and we go door knock the neighborhood. So now they saw us on social media. Now they saw us on the mail, hopefully. And now they're seeing us in person. Now we got some familiarity, right? And telling them like, hey, your neighbor down the street, right, is putting their house up for sale. Come and check it out. Everybody wants to be nosy. Everybody wants to be nosy. I love this about people. They're like, well, I'm not buying, but I always wanted to see if their kitchen is the same one as mine.
What did they do on the inside? Exactly.
What did they do on the inside? And it turns out that we've had very good traction with people walking in, right? And just saying, I would need this house for my mom, which is moving from Michigan, is moving from Texas. There's a lot of migration between states. However, we as agents, if we don't have the right leadership that injects us that energy, we're not transmitting that energy into our clients. Right? And that's a struggle. How can we transmit confidence when we're not confident on what we're doing? Because the truth is, in real estate, a lot of brokerages, team leads, or whatever leadership you have in whatever structure, whether it's digital or, well, I'm sorry, I'm not going to talk about it.
Yes, that is true. There are several companies that are all digital. We're not here. We have 8 local offices around the valley. It's wonderful. You can stop in and see people. So
and how does these agents that feel lost, they don't have this leadership. They can transmit this energy, this confidence into their clients, where regardless of the economy, regardless of anything that's happening, there's always going to be something happening.
Sure.
Regardless of anything, they feel safe because the agent or their representative is making them feel safe. But that comes a lot from leadership, right?
Thank you.
And that's something that I've experienced. What are some of your tactics that you focus, like, okay, as a leader, this is my number 1 priority, my number 2 priority, and my number 3 priority?
Well, for me as a managing broker, my number 1 priority is making sure that my agents understand the forms, right? Because that is the legal part of this business. They've got to be able to communicate that to their clients. But beyond that, because that's a very that's a very structured thing. We need to make sure you understand your forms. But beyond that, it is understanding and helping build agent confidence that they understand the market. So when I talk about every month in my office meetings, I talk about market conditions. And I don't talk about them based on the national standards or even Arizona standards, because the reality is I don't care what's happening in Sedona or Tucson, because that's not the market here in the valley, right? That we call it the Valley of the Sun. But in my office, we do Maricopa County. I look at the Maricopa County stats, and then I narrow it to a 10-mile radius right around our office, right? Most of us are working in that primary 10-mile radius. Of course, we're working outside of that, but when we're focusing on things, we're focused right here in the immediate area, right? And so one of the things I share with newer agents, especially if they don't have that confidence, right? Focus on your neighborhood. Create a search for your own neighborhood so you can watch what's happening right around you. You know what the construction is. You know what the streets are like. You know what your grocery stores are like. You know who's moving around in that neighborhood. You know how many cars are there on weekends and evenings, right? You know what that traffic flow is. And when a new property comes up, go view it so you can walk through it. And then when somebody starts talking about, well, hey, how's the market? You don't have to talk about national numbers, right? You can bring it down to close in and what you do truly know. You've been in those homes. You know what they smell like. You know how they're constructed. You know whether or not those windows are single pane or double pane. And if you're watching that over and over, somebody asks what the market conditions are, you can give the broad overview. You know, things are a little slow. We've got a lot of inventory right now. But then you can go, look, one of the neighborhoods I've been watching, I just noticed 5 homes went under contract last night. I mean, that's important to know, because then I'm saying, wait a minute, that's the movement I haven't seen in 3 weeks, right? If all of a sudden we're seeing a spike in homes going under contract, as an agent, I'm more confidently able to explain what's happening. Then the best part about that, I can say, well, where are you living? Did you want to learn something more about your area? I'd be happy to pull that up. And the agent knows how to translate that and be able to look into that neighborhood and find out what has the trajectory been, so they can see, are things moving there or not? Because I will tell you, there are parts of this valley that are moving much slower than other parts.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So we've got luxury homes and we've got, starter homes. All depends on the part of the valley you're talking about. So that's one of the ways to gain confidence in those agents to understand the market conditions.
I think you're touching exactly what companies in general, and again, this applies to every business out there, which is make sure that your employees, that your collaborators, the people that work with you, I like that philosophy,
Right.
They work with you and not for you, they're knowledgeable. But they master their craft, right? Because that's the only way to bring value. One of the things that I love to be in these monthly meetings, and I love to be in the trainings, because they're pretty intense. They're pretty intense. I've read the contract like hundreds of times, and every time I'm like, oh, that's what that meant, right? Like line 247, that's what that meant. And how many people, if you're watching this, if you're interested on real estate, how many people actually train you to be knowledgeable and to be good at what you do and perfect your craft and inspire confidence and know your clients? The reason is nobody understands in the general public the language of real estate, right? I'm bilingual, but now I can literally say I'm officially trilingual. I can speak Spanish, I can speak English and real estate.
There you go.
Because when I first bought my first house,
Right.
I had no idea, honestly, what I was reading. I try to be smart, right? And I felt so educated because I will read every single paper. But,
It's hard.
First of all, everybody gets e-signature now, which is kind of like a risk, right? And there's a lot of lazy agents out there that is like, oh, you know what? I filled out the contract, send it to you. Can please e-sign it? Well, what does this mean? And something that we learned here from Realty One Group, and Hector applies it a lot. He just spent like 3 hours explaining the purchase contract to a client with going almost line by line in what it means, right? And that's something that I love here, that is not only us to the client, but it's our leadership to us. And guess what? As many transactions as you might close, you don't know everything. And 18 forms change at one point in time. Things keep changing, right? Sure. This whole NAR situation change, and a lot of things in real estate, and in your business, things are gonna change constantly. I used to think, you know what? I just want to live in peace. But then I realized that would be pretty boring.
It would be very boring.
It would be very boring. So
I can't imagine you doing that. Not at all.
It's like sitting down, and now, after 5 minutes, I'm like,
what's next?
What's next?
What's next?
But that's something that I learned from here, right? And in this podcast, it's literally, I like to provide testimony to any topic that we're talking about. That's why I was very excited to have you on the podcast and be like, Melissa, please. And then Melissa texts me back. She's like, what are we going to talk about? Oh, it's a surprise, right? So this is non-scripted. This is from the heart, people. Correct. And if you're interested in real estate, you got to look for the right leadership, right? And it's not only you, it's the culture, right? How do we spell it?
Coolture. Culture.
Culture.
It's very cool, and we've got the culture to go with it. That's right. Yeah, it's true.
And you can feel it when you walk into the office, when you walk into any Realty One office, how culture is standardized, the high level of energy. Yeah. I went to the Chandler office once, and I walk in, and the first thing, all the guitars. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I was like, that was so
office.
Cool. First thing I did, I took a selfie, but you can feel the energy, and leadership is just not your managing broker. But it's how does the structure work on Realty One Group?
So Realty One Group has over 500 offices around the world now. Remember, I told you I joined in 2008. We were part of the original corporate offices that were built. There are 4 corporate offices in Nevada and 8 corporate offices here in basically the Maricopa County area. Then we have franchises in this state all around us, but then across the country there are franchises. We're the number one real estate franchise around the world, growing every year, and we open doors. Unlike some other real estate companies that either don't have any brick or mortar or are closing their doors, which we're seeing, or merging these huge mergers, right? The reality is we are a privately owned company. Our owner is not interested in going on the stock exchange. He's not going to do that, said that the other day, because our focus is on the realtors to make sure that they get the tools and resources they need, because that allows them to then focus on their clients.
Absolutely.
A lot of these bigger companies that are merging, who are they doing that for? They're shareholders. Their ownership, if you will, this big conglomerate, right? They're not necessarily focused on what they're giving to their agents. And I'm proud to be a part of that, because as a managing broker, that is my focus. My focus is to make sure you have the tools and resources. So again, we are a part of the corporate structure here for Realty One Group, but we have all these other offices. We're in almost 30 countries now. We're hoping to get to 30 by the end of the year. We're heading out to Miami for our annual summit the beginning of next month. Very excited about that. Again, that's going to bring a lot of our international franchise owners to join together, and I'm looking forward to meeting with these agents from Aruba, and we just opened up in Jamaica. Italy, we opened several new offices in Italy this last year.
And Mexico just opened.
Oh, Mexico just opened.
Absolutely.
Yep, all of Mexico, and they're going to expand because they just opened the main office, but that guy has bought all of Mexico. So there are offices that are going to be opening up there. I am certain of that. And the beauty of that is that we've got a corporate entity that does training and provides all of our back-end computer systems and technology for our agents is the same for our franchises. Now, it's a little bit different, I'm sure, around the world, but they have access to all that data and that the instructional. I just got off a webinar every 2 weeks. We do something called One Prime Time, where we get a chance to listen to agents and owners that are all across the country to talk about what their specialty might be. Today it was on our veterans and veteran loan programs and helping our veterans. So, and I've again done this for a long time. I was able to gain some new information about veteran loans and some of how you can help the spouses of veterans as they're helping do that move, because oftentimes the veteran may be out of state or not available. I've personally helped relocate veterans sight unseen because they were not able to be in Arizona when they needed to buy their home, but they had to be here immediately upon that deployment and be ready to be up and running off the ground. And so we had to buy their home before they even got here.
One thing I can tell you as a veteran myself, right?
Thank you.
When I appreciate it, thank you. I love when people tell me that, because it's one of the best things that I've ever done in my life. It's 90% of who I am today. Well, how I practice my business, how I practice my daily discipline, it has influenced so much. And one of the things that happened to me as a veteran is when I left the Army, I was used to be inside a pretty comfortable system.
Right.
When it came to logistics and finance and housing and all that stuff. So now I'm coming into the outside world, and all of a sudden I felt kind of vulnerable.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, if I want to buy a house, like, how do I do that? And yes, there's resources, but even with resources being available, it does take some human touch, right? Going back to leadership, it takes somebody to actually teach you the ropes, even as a client, of what is it that you need to do. And our veterans, it's a very, very vulnerable population in many, many ways, right? There's people that, suffer from PTSD and other things that they're already dealing with.
Right.
To already deal with more and additional stress when they're not working with the right representation or somebody that shares the values. Because I can tell you one thing that I learned as a veteran was the values. Oh, we live by the values. I myself, I had a wonderful experience on the service. I would do it again 100%, and I would recommend it to anybody that wants to join the service, regardless of what your thoughts are or your position or anything, as a self-discipline. And now being able to share those values with Realty One Group, right? And I totally shared it because I went to the summit last year, and maybe Mr. Cuba, we would like to do a documentary. Sergio and I. Sergio's my producer. He's a man that gets us 22,000 downloads and counting on the last 6 months. So maybe one of these days we can do a documentary on the one experience on the summits. It was amazing. I saw on stage when we went to Vegas 2 years ago. We went to Vegas, and it was all the countries, all representatives from the countries coming out and talking about their experience and how happy they were to be part of this culture, because it's literally a culture. With you being in Realty One Group so many years, what has been the most impactful leadership training or leadership skills that you have learned here?
I think the tools that they offer that, over the years, it's changed, right? Because when I first started, of course, we didn't have the systems we have today. And I think that the leadership from corporate to go out and find the best tools and resources to help our agents has been probably the best thing that I've been able to interact with and have assist me as an agent prior to becoming a manager. And now as a manager, my ability to look at those tools and be able to say, look, Boz, there's something here we have that you may not realize. I mean, it's sitting there, but if you take advantage of that, you really can connect to more people and be a better resource to your client base. And so that's always changing, but it's because corporate has a real desire and a passion for they're the ones that go out and look through all of this new technology and these systems that are out there. I mean, I don't know about you, but my phone, I get voicemails, text messages, hey, check out the latest da-da-da-da-da. I don't have time to go through all of that stuff. So we actually have a corporate office that actually fields those types of calls, and they sit down with those owners and they flesh out whether that's something that really would be beneficial for our agents to use. And I think most of the choices they've had over the years have been spot on. Of course, there have been a few that weren't successful, but for the most part, I think they've been really amazing tools and resources that we can put together. We give all of our agents a free website and a CRM, and I think that's one of the biggest challenges that most agents face if they're just becoming an entrepreneur. They don't have a database. They don't have a way to connect with those people. Now, I know you have by far a much more in-depth CRM, and most people can't even touch what you have. But you have an incredible one. What we have for agents is more of a beginning starter system.
Yes, and ease of use, right?
Oh, it's absolutely very useful, and it connects to your website, so you can have people that go to your website automatically go onto your CRM, so you can continue to interact with them and stay in touch with them. And that's what's so important. It comes back down to that relationship, right?
Yes.
You need to be able to know who you're talking to and stay in touch with them.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I laugh a little because we literally just had this conversation about 2 weeks ago. And, one of my goals is to get my broker's license here in the next few months.
Awesome.
And the first thing that I think about is like, okay, I want to open my own brokerage, and the way that we operate in very more lead generation way. But, Melissa has a very subtle way of always kind of grounding me. And we were on the phone and she said like, oh, that's great. However, are you actually prepared for A, B, C, D, and E for what you're going to face as even managing an office? Like there's so much more to it than real estate.
Right.
And I was like, oh, well, that's a good point. And I'm looking into, before anything now, I decided to take a step back and do the training here at Realty One Group, the leadership training, maybe become a mentor on a specialty that I do, right? And be able to provide that value, prove that value, and become useful, right? And even though I didn't change my goal of getting my broker's license, because that's a personal thing that I want to do, it did grounded me into, okay, before running, right? You, in between crawling and running, there's walking, and you gotta walk really, really good. And now break it down. You gotta keep your balance.
Right.
You gotta learn leadership skills, right? Because now you're dealing a lot more with people and all kinds of people, right? And I think on my leadership experience, the way that I've dealt with issues and the way that I run teams is in a very particular manner. However, in this case, you as a managing broker, you have to deal with a variety of ways to deal with certain groups of people with certain habits, challenges. You're like a therapist in a way.
I think all of us as agents are therapists, but think about it. Learning styles are different for different people, right? And so, as a mother of two now young adults or adults, but they have different learning styles. And I've learned, right? We really have to look at how people, how they learn, and how we can connect to them to help them learn. Whatever I'm trying to teach, I've got to be able to reach. For me, our agents, right? And for the agent, their clients. We have something here that's available to our agents called a DISC assessment. It's available for you to learn. It's basically learning personality styles. And the reason we have that available to our agents is because if we don't know who we're talking to and who our clients are, how do we know how to communicate to them? And so the easiest thing here in Arizona, because we do have a lot of engineering firms, is if you have an engineer that's a client, you better be able to deliver the numbers.
Yes.
Because they need to see those numbers. And that's the easiest one I can relate that the general public is going to understand. But a lot of people buy homes not based on numbers. They buy it based on emotion. They buy it based on the fact that there's a beautiful backyard where they can entertain, right? I mean, there are all these different things that, believe it or not, people do purchase their homes for, is looking at that. And so one of the things we do try to give to our agents is to learn those different personalities and understand how best to be able to provide that data, whatever that data might be, to your consumer, your client, right?
One of the things that you mentioned there is being able to bring value, right? And in one of my trainings, one of the classes that I do, I'm going to be giving a class in October 8th about this as well, is relational, right? We will go back to the relational part of the business, which the first question in this class that I say is like, who thinks we're on sales? And everybody raises their hand, right? And then I go to explaining, I don't believe and I don't feel that I'm in sales because the knowledge that I've been blessed with, that I prepare myself, that I learn can literally change somebody's life, right? And I can bring value to a conversation. I can talk about, rule number one, never talk about something you don't know, but definitely emphasize what you do know.
Sure.
You know, so when I'm having a conversation with an engineer, with somebody that knows a lot and they definitely do their research, they might be courteous enough maybe not to correct me, but in their head, they're like, no, I don't think that's right because I already did the research, right? So I like to bring value and be confident in what I know and mention where I got that information from and why that's my research. I try to stay to the facts, but then I try to focus more on their needs. Right? Focus more on their human needs, because I might be an engineer, but if I'm a father, my reasons for buying a house are more emotional.
Correct.
Right? I'm buying a house, number one, because that is the top of what I can do as a man to provide for my family. A home, right? A stability. Right? The fact that my kids don't have to fight with the neighbors or get in trouble at the apartment complex or something like that, because you don't know my kids. My kids.
I do.
You think I'm bad? Oh yeah, you do know my kids. I bring it to the office all the time, and you know what? It's such a beautiful thing to be able to provide a home, right? And as a mother as well. And now we see a lot of families, because of the economy, is actually coming together
Right.
as a son, coming in as an 18-year-old, in which my parents talked to Vols in Realty One Group 2 years ago, and Vols said, make sure you get your son into your credit card as an additional
Right.
as an additional user. Don't give them the credit card. Get them in the credit card.
No,
So by
you
the
hold the
time
credit
they're
card.
18, they actually, have a credit score. And now I have 18 years old. I have a 700 credit score, and they're able to assist their parents at 18 years old or 19 after they have meet the right criteria for the program, being able to participate on buying the home.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what that does? Like for me as maybe the older son or the middle son as a daughter, to be able to say, I help my parents get their home. And now, not only that, my parents did the biggest blessing for me because they introduced me to real estate.
Right.
So we change people's lives. And here at Realty One at the Paradise office, which is the one I can attest to, that's what I love about the leadership, And I love the fact, also, we're going to touch a little bit on this topic, and right at the end also, because a lot of teams, a lot of brokers, and a lot of people that are trying to recruit agents, it's more like, hey, check it out. Here's my shiny object. This is all I can give you. I can give you this. I can give you that. I can give you leads. I can give you this. And one of the conversations that you do have with prospect agents that come and might want to join is, oh, you want leads? Oh, okay, yeah, we do got leads, but if I give you one, would you know what to do with it?
No, they don't.
Or will you fumble it? Are you ready to hold the responsibility? Because you're trying to get leads because you need money, not because you want to help somebody.
Right.
You're in it for yourself. You're coming in and you're like, I want leads so I can close some deals and be rich with these commissions.
Oh yeah, I today with all the stuff online and everything, I love the agents that come to me and say, I'm going to make $1 million this year. I'm like, okay, let's break that down. I've been doing this 28 years. I would love to tell you that I've made $1 million in a year. I've never come even close, right? And I was a top producer in this office. I was in the top 10 for 4 or 5 years, right? So I'm saying I was a very strong agent, but being able to make $1 million is a big difference than being a realtor and being active and serving your community.
Yes.
And yes, there are some people that certainly do make $1 million, but that is fewer and far between. Most of our agents make a very good living, but they have to work at it. This is not, I'm just going to punch my ticket and get, a check for $30,000. That is not how it works.
No.
And I think, unfortunately, I have to burst a few bubbles on some of those scenarios. But I would think that there is a way to help people understand what this business is about. I do think that we're getting new people into the industry right now. And I do think there's business out there for everybody. One of the things, though, I really love about this office is we don't feel we're in competition with each other, right? I feel like our agents come together. If you're sitting on the bullpen behind us, you can see the large table. We often have agents that are in here working on their computers, helping each other out. They'll ask somebody else a question. Hey, what do you think about this? Hey, my listing's been up for 30 days. Can you take a peek at it? Is there anything I can do, that you think would make it shine more or change something up on those photos? And they're very collaborative and cooperative, unlike other companies where I've seen people like, ooh, I can't talk to you because you're my competition. Mm-hmm. You're really not. And the reason I say that is because the circles you, Voss, travel in probably are not the same circles I travel in. Like I'm a mom of now a student at ASU and one that's on a gap year heading out of state for college next year. I mean, the group of people I know and the families I know, my sphere is very different from yours, right? So very unlikely we're going to crisscross. Now, is it potential that somebody in this office I'll crisscross with? Sure. But again, we're typically not going to be competition. Now, of course, let me be careful with that phrase. I'm a non-competing broker. I do not compete with any of my agents. I work with some of my clients from a long time ago. I have a long list of people, but that's all I'm doing in terms of real estate. today. But in terms of general agent to agent here,
Yes.
yes, people may be in similarities, but most times they're not in direct competition with one another. They're in competition with themselves, right? As you were talking about your discipline, you're in competition to get your name, your company, your business, because in reality, you are your own business out there. And I think that's one of the things that Realty One Group is so good with, is that we encourage you to build your business. Use our tools and resources to support that business and build it up, but it's your business and you have to be ready and disciplined to take your business to where you plan on going. What is it you want to create in your business? Now, you and Hector have talked about this a lot, right? So you have a business plan. And I think for that person that's just jumping into real estate and has never been an entrepreneur, doesn't understand, it is all about you. What do you want to create? And I think that that's one of the things that, especially here at Realty One Group, we give you, because we call ourselves the unbrokerage. In fact, well, you can see Coulter behind me, but you can't see the unbrokerage. But we call ourselves the unbrokerage because we're not a box. We're not going to tell you, you have to shove your ideas and everything you thought you were bringing in this, and you have to stay within this box. We want you to design your company for you. What is it you want to become? And we'll help you get there. You talked about the mentorship training. Yes, corporate-wise, we do have mentorship. We have coaching. And again, the company is positioned to help entrepreneurs build literally franchises from the ground up. We still have, I think, 30 to open this year, and it's almost October. So in the next 3 months, I think we're opening another 30 offices around the world. I mean, we're there to help those people build those companies. Just like I'm here in this office to help you as an agent build your company, your business.
And one of the things we're going to have is a Q&A, guys. So in one of the next episodes, for everybody watching this, we're going to collect a lot of questions from our viewers, and then we're going to answer them. So we're going to have a Q&A, whether it's real estate, whether it's leadership, whether it's real estate as a client, real estate as a professional, because there's a lot of different fields, right? We have the lending side, we have the appraisal side, we have the investment side, we have the traditional realtor side. And let me tell you, you have to be pretty knowledgeable 360 as you go along in these areas to be a complete real estate professional. Because just because you're a realtor, right, and you paid your membership with the association, does not make you a real estate professional. And that is the truth. And if you are serious about real estate, you are serious about your own discipline, if you are serious about building something that is meaningful, then Realty One Group, especially this office, it is the right fit for you. And it is not the right fit for you if you are focusing on how much money you can make, because you can make a lot more money offering value and solving problems than trying to make sales. And that's important. It needed to be said, and it was said. But we would love to have you for another episode here at the End Walls Podcast. Definitely.
Absolutely.
What is the best recommendation that you can give to anybody that is worried about the market?
I think the market is going to recover here pretty quickly. Do I think the interest rates are going to go down to 3.5%? No. But I do think they're going to go under 6%, probably within the next 6 to 8 months. And yes, I am pushing that into 2026. But I do think that they'll come down. I think that's the biggest worry most people have. Around here, I've talked to a lot of lenders, and one of the biggest things that we've been talking about is marry the house, not the rate. You can refinance the rate when those interest rates go down, as long as you can afford the house. You got to still be able to afford the house. But there are a lot of programs available, and there are things that your real estate agent can negotiate to try and get an interest rate buy down if that's most important to you. Otherwise, there are other ways to structure it to make sure that you're comfortable with purchasing the home. But I do think that in Arizona, our market, again, is a little different. We are set to have a huge increase in businesses in 2026. Again, we technically have more people coming here than we have housing available. So I know our rental market is very soft right now. We are seeing, we're seeing college students post-college moving back with their families. That is not uncommon, and I think we will continue to see that for the short term in the future, because I don't see these young graduates being able to afford, even rentals are ridiculously priced compared to what I'm used to, right? And so it's really hard for a 20-year-old to be able to afford $2,400, $2,800 a month on these rentals. So I think we'll see still some of that joining of families together, multi-generational type situations. But I do think our market overall in Arizona is solid. We do see that we'll start picking up. This is traditional. This is no shift with what's going on around us. We typically start picking up with additional sales come December, January, and February. That's normal. I think we're actually going to see it for October, November. I'm starting to hear title companies that more files are going in and escrow is opening. I'm seeing more things come across my desk. Now, is that a total number? I don't know yet because I can't see until the numbers have closed. So it'll be interesting in a week. Next week we'll have the numbers for September. Normally September and October we're heading down in quantities sold here in Arizona. If those stayed flatlined, that will bode well for us. If that stayed flatlined and we'll start to see the pickup earlier, that would be very good news here in Arizona. Again, this is a local thing.
Absolutely. One of the things that you mentioned was in training was it doesn't matter what's going on nationally.
No.
Because Arizona, Maricopa has always been kind of a unicorn.
It's always been a unicorn. It absolutely.
And one of the things that you touched in there, it was multi-generational, how a lot of students are moving back with their parents, sure, and they're not really renting the $2,000 apartment or anything like that, close to AZ or close to anything like that. But I want to take the chance to thank our main sponsors for this episode, which is Your Sonoran Spaces Co. Go to our website, yoursonoranspacesco.com or yoursonoranspaces.com. And what Your Sonoran Spaces does, it offers a solution to this, which is it helps you we completely build a casita on your backyard, because as a little bit ago, I believe it was this year or last year, yep, Governor Katie Hobbs actually approved legislation to be able to build casitas on your own backyard in your own property, as long as it's under 1,000 square feet. So great builds, great models, and not only is it an income generating asset, not only is it gonna provide additional square footage to your property, which might increase, right? And this is, up to the lenders and up to the professionals. We're the realtors. It might increase the equity in your house. It might provide value to your house. And also it provides a solution for this multi-generational problem and housing affordability that we're having in our economy, because it's not only our kids.
Sure.
It's also our parents. Right? It's also our parents. It
or
might
our
be
siblings.
Yes.
Our siblings, right?
It's also our siblings. And there's value to this, right? I would love to have my mom or my mother-in-law living with me, because I think as a generation, I would love to talk about this topic on the next episode with you. I think as a generation, we have lost the connectivity with and value of our elders.
Yes.
Right? Of having them around, our kids, of bringing that wisdom. And God knows this world needs those values right now. But
one point on those auxiliary units, the ADUs, please make sure you're checking with your specific cities.
Yes.
Because I think there are regulations. Some of those are allowed to be rented and some are not.
Correct.
Depending on the city, there are some that are saying you can build them for family, but they cannot be used as rentals. So I don't know each city's terms, but there are overlays from every single city in the state. The state allowed that to happen. It was a big thing the community was pushing for. We had plenty of homes where perhaps the parents had been living there for decades, literally, and they had extra space. They didn't want to move out, but the home was too big for them. This gave them an opportunity to flip it so that they could move into this brand new dwelling in the back, and the kids could come home and have their, the multi-generation, because they have 3 kids, right? So you've got extra people all in the main house, but then that senior, if you will, moves into the ADU. But again, different rules for different cities. So please make sure you're checking into that.
That's the importance of checking with a professional, guys. There's a lot of people and salespeople that are trying to sell this product because of the great demand that it has on solving this problem. However, number one, if you shouldn't even be talking about adding value to a property, or that is going to appraise higher in a certain amount of time if you're not even in real estate. Okay, so if that person doesn't even hold a real estate license, doesn't have any real estate experience, you should definitely not even be taking any advice from these people. Number 2, checking the regulations, making sure that due diligence can be done, right? As Melissa said, it's always to the best of the consumer. Our duty is to the consumer, not to the sale. So definitely doing the right due diligence to make sure things can be constructed and for the purpose that you want it, so you don't end up with debt, right? A lot of people, what they're doing is they're refinancing their homes, pulling up a HELOC in order to build this in there, but it needs to make sense, and you need to have the right guidance so this becomes an asset 2-3 years down the road. Right. Thank you so much for that comment. I would love to talk a little more about that as well, because it comes with the importance of knowing who you're working with. To all of our clients, to all of our general public, if you come across, you can always reach out through our social media, ask any questions, and my social media at the DJ Vols, or the Vols social media, professional spamming that I have, or even directly to Realty One Group.
Sure.
You Google us, and we have an office number. You have any questions, make sure you call us. Melissa, myself, and all the amazing experienced realtors on this office, which I'm looking at their office, and I'm looking at one of the amazing realtors here. Thank you. We all can assist, and we all share the same values, Melissa.
Thank you so much.
So thank you very much for everyone for being here today, because remember, you could have been everywhere else in the world, but no, you decided to be here listening to the I Am Vols podcast. Big shout out to Mr. Cuba, because we're going to send you this podcast and hopefully we can have you as a guest in the future. Thank you very much. I'm DJ Vols, and I approve this message.